Imagine you are in a good sleep, it is midnight, but then you hear a bombing sound in your neighborhood. You woke up in shock. But once you recovered from that shock, you receive a message which is even more shocking. That is, the president of your country is missing, extracted by another country. What will be your state of mind? What will be your reaction? Believe me, this is what exactly happened in the South American country of Venezuela on 3rd January midnight around 2 a.m. Hi, hello everyone. Welcome to the State of Affairs brought to you by Shankar IAS Academy. Today we are going to talk about the heated conflict between Venezuela and the United States of America. But before getting into the geopolitics, we have to understand certain basic facts about the country Venezuela. Venezuela, it's a South American country which is located in the northern part of South America and sharing border with 3 important South American countries, that is Colombia in the west, Brazil in the south, and also the Guyana in the east. It is also sharing border with the maritime border with the Caribbean Sea and also the Atlantic Ocean. Talking about the geography, so you can see that the important river of this country is Orinoco. So this Orinoco river basin is also an important oil field, which is strategically important for Venezuela. And you can see that the Venezuela has the largest lake of South America, that is Lake Maracaibo. And you can also see that in the eastern part of Venezuela, there we have the highest waterfall of this world, that is the Angel Falls. And coming to the history of Venezuela. So the history of Venezuela and the entire Western Hemisphere starts in the year 1492 with the arrival of the Italian navigator and his crew in the 3 ships, that is Naina, Pinta, Santa Maria. We know that Christopher Columbus discovered America in 1492. But after discovery, the Spanish and the Portuguese colonized the America and particularly the South America. But around 1790s, the geopolitics of the Europe was totally changed with the rise of Napoleon Bonaparte. With the Napoleon expedition, the Spanish and the Portugal lost their power. They lost their control over their colonies, particularly in the South America. And this time, the nationalist movements emerged in the South America, and Venezuela declared as a republic in the year 1811. And very soon, that is around 1821, Venezuela officially got independence from Spain and became the first country in the South America to get independence from a colonial power. And now we'll skip to 1950s. So what was the US-Venezuela relation in 1950s? So we know the importance of 1950. It was an era of Cold War. And this time the US-Venezuela relation was much better. That means the Venezuelan government will give the oil, US will refine, they will make the profit, and a share of the profit will be given to the Venezuelan government. That was understanding between these 2 nations. And if you want to understand the depth of the US-Venezuela relation, note that the Fort Tuna, the largest military base of Venezuela, was controlled by America in 1950s. And this was the relation between America and the Venezuela since 1990s. But the political ambience of Venezuela started changing in 1990s with the rise of many popular movements. And one of the leaders that emerged in 1990s was Hugo Chavez under the banner of United Socialist Party. He was a communist and he came from a working class family. So the Chavez and his comrades attempted to overthrow the Venezuelan government, which was criticized for being a puppet of the United States. But unfortunately for Chavez and his comrades, the attempt was a failure and Chavez was imprisoned. But later, due to the popular pressure, he was released from the prison, and in the year 1999, Chavez became the president of Venezuela. And after again elections happened, for the next 2 terms, the Conservative Party came to power in Venezuela. But again, in 2007, Chavez once again came to power in Venezuela and became the president. And his rule continued till 2013. And after Hugo Chavez, the Nicolas Maduro, the present president of the Venezuela, became the president of Venezuela, but he was not that much popular like Hugo Chavez. He was severely criticized for managing the economy, because you can see that during the time of Nicolas Maduro, the Venezuelan inflation, that means the hyperinflation of Venezuela, reached approximately 78%. The country struggled a lot, even for food and other essential items. And between 2015 and 2019, large scale people left the country, and that marked one of the biggest humanitarian crisis of this 21st century, that is Venezuela migrant crisis. Majority of the Venezuelan citizens went to countries like United States of America and Canada. And if you take the political condition of the America, we can see that till 2020, the Trump administration was in power in America, and the democratic rule came to America, that is under the leadership of Joe Biden. And again, in the January of 2025, the Trump administration once again got the power in United States, and there starts the issue that we are seeing now. So what is a major allegation raised by the Trump administration on the Venezuelan government? That is the narco-terrorism. So the Trump administration said that the Venezuelan government is a drug cartel, and Nicolas Maduro is the kingpin, the leader of this drug cartel. When we talk about the drug cartel, not just think about cocaine. The biggest concern of the United States in the recent time is fentanyl. So in the recent time, nearly 78,000 American citizens lost their life due to the overdose of fentanyl. And the American government under the Trump administration said that this is sponsored by the Venezuelan government under the leadership of Nicolas Maduro. But a recent study done by the United Nations Office on Drugs and Crime found that majority of the fentanyl are reaching the United States of America from Mexico, not from Venezuela. The role of Venezuela is very less. So here, the allegation raised by the United States of America is losing its base. And then comes the event of September 2nd. So the tension was slowly building up between the United States and the Venezuela. And on September 2nd, in the meantime, the United States, they already deployed their force, including the Air Force, in the Central American region near to Venezuela. And on September 2nd, they launched an attack on a boat, and that resulted into death of few Venezuelan citizens. And the White House took the responsibility for this attack, saying that it was an attempt to prevent the entry of drugs into the North America. And then comes the event of January 3rd, that is in the name of Operation Absolute Resolve. So what is Operation Absolute Resolve? So you can see that on January 3rd, around midnight, that is between 12 a.m. and 1 a.m., the US force was deployed in position. They were waiting for the report from the CAA workers or the staff in the ground level. They received the report in the meantime, and around 2 a.m., the Caracas, the capital of Venezuela, witnessed the first explosion. And between 2 a.m. and 2:30 a.m., the force raided the complex of Maduro, captured him. And between 3 a.m. and 4:30 a.m., Maduro was transferred to the U.S. naval ship, and from there he was taken back to the New York, the USA, and where he is expected to meet the U.S. federal court to give explanation regarding the narco-terrorism allegation raised by the Trump administration. And when we talk about Venezuelan crisis, we cannot ignore, especially the America is involved, so we cannot ignore the factor of oil reserve. So when we talk about oil, the first country that comes to our mind will be the Middle Eastern countries, especially the Saudi Arabia. But not that the Saudi Arabia is the largest oil exporter, but the largest oil reserve in the world is located in Venezuela, a part of ancient supercontinent Gondwana land. So the estimated oil reserve of Venezuela is coming around 300 billion. 300 billion. So imagine that, we are living in a world, there is no other source of energy except oil. Even in that case, this 300 billion reserve of oil, crude oil, is enough to meet the global consumption for nearly 7.7 years. So there comes the importance of Venezuelan oil. And one more thing we have to understand, that the Venezuelan oil is very different from other crude oil. The Venezuelan oil is known as heavy crude oil. And what is the speciality of heavy crude oil? High content of sulfur and low content of hydrogen. And another major thing is that this heavy crude oil cannot be refined in usual refineries. For that, we need specialized refineries. And we can say that since the middle 20th century, the American companies were investing, because that time the US-Venezuela relation was was really good. So believing on the confidence, they invested more on this refineries which are capable of refining the heavy crude oil. But later we know what happened. Once the Hugo Chavez nationalized the oil reserve, it led to it couldn't meet the demand of the US. So that there itself the US Venezuela issue was triggered. And here you can see the Orinoco Belt, the largest river basin of Venezuela, and it is also the important oil reserve of the Venezuela. And here you can see the other important regions Venezuela related to the oil, including the Caracas. Caracas is an important refinery center too, the capital of Venezuela. And so you can see that one night the US launched, they took a unilateral decision and they launched attack on another country. So you might think, does it violate any international law? Is it violating any international law? Yes, it is violating the Article 2 Clause 4 of the UN Charter. So what is the Article 2 Clause 4 of the UN Charter? The 2 Clause 4 of the UN Charter is saying that all the members should not use force or any other weapon to that can impact the territorial integrity and sovereignty of another country. That means no action of a country should affect the territorial integrity or the sovereignty of another country. But this is violated by the United States. And the United States may have a chance of using this Article 51 as an exemption. But there also a check is there. That is, the Article 51 is talking about the right to self-defense. So there are news that we can hear that the US, the Venezuela is using narco-terrorism, and that is why the US attacked Venezuela. So here, as per the Article 51 of the UN Charter, a country has the right to self-defense. Only in certain cases, that means only if that country is attacked by another country, in that case, kinetically attacked by another country, in that case only a country can react using the force. And for that also, they need to take permission from the United States Security Council. What about the impact on India? We have to discuss this from the Indian point of view. So we can see that the attack on Venezuela not just shocked the Venezuela, it sent a wave of shock across the South America, Colombia, Chile. All these nations criticized the US unilateral action. And we can see that India, we are moving forward with the vision of Vikasit Bharat 2047. That means we are planning to become a developed country in another 23 years. And for that, we need minerals. What minerals? Critical minerals. And considering the importance of critical minerals, in 2025, the government of India launched the National Critical Minerals Mission. And the country Latin America or South America is very important in terms of minerals. We have already discussed the mineral, the resource of Venezuela. If you go to other countries like Chile, Bolivia, and Argentina, there we have important resource of lithium, which is very essential for electric vehicles. So, if the Latin America or the Western Hemisphere is entering into a stage of conflict, it will definitely affect or it will disrupt the global supply chain, and at the same time, it will also affect the aspirations of India in becoming a developed country and also engaging with the Western Hemisphere. So that will be the impact of this Western Hemisphere conflict on India. So we can see that after capturing the President Nicolas Maduro from Venezuela, the US President Mr. Donald Trump made a post on X saying that the US administration will run Venezuela until the peace and stability is restored. So we can see that we are living in a multipolar world where every country are bound to respect each other's territorial integrity and sovereignty. In such a situation, a big power like United States of America may have n number of reasons and justifications for their action. That can be anything. That can be narco-terrorism, that can be dictatorship, that can be oil reserve, that can be mega, that is make America great again, or that can be, for Trump administration, that can be even Epstein files too. But understand that the crime is a crime and violation is a violation, no matter who does it or for what. Thanks for watching.